Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. The Apple iPad 7th generation. Okay, so let's go over the specs first. Well, we have a 10.2-inch screen. Was released in 2019, 2021. Still currently supported by Apple too, and you can still buy them. Refurbished for sure. Brand new. I don't know. You have to look around. Anyway, 8 megapixel rear, 720p camera in the front, 1080p in the back. Back camera also does 720p, 120 frame per second, but your 720p in the front for your selfie is only 30 frames per second, and it's only 1.2 megapixel, but it's a really nice one too. Anyways, 3 gigabytes of RAM, Apple A10 Fusion processor, and we have a 8.8 amp battery, or 8,827 milliamp, and it's lithium polymer battery. All right, let's continue on, shall we? Network technology is GSM, CDMA, HSPA, EVDO, and LTE. And I think we have an expanded list. Yes, we do, for 2, 3, and 4 gigahertz bands and more. That's a big list. We're not going through it all. Anyways, the body, we got a glass front, obviously, aluminum back, aluminum frame. We have nano and eSIM. So the eSIM, if you don't want to use a nano SIM, you can go eSIM. And there is information on Apple's website about that and how you actually make use of that built-in eSIM, which is actually pretty freaking cool. Stylus support, first generation Apple Pencil only. Okay, and that will include even the 10th generation iPad will only support the first gen Apple Pencil. Now, our screen type, of course, is an IPS LCD, 10.2 inch, 1620 by 2160 with a 4.3 ratio. The protection on this is called scratch-resistant glass with an oliphobic coating. Now, of course, my iPad is in absolutely showroom condition because I have a glass on the front, and I've had a glass since the beginning, and I've always kept it in a case except for today's video. Okay, then it's going back into the case. Now, what else have we got here? The supported operating system is 13.1 to most current right now. It happens to be 16.6, and it will support probably quite a few more OSs before it runs out. The Apple A10 Fusion processor is a quad-core 2.34 gigahertz with 2 Hurricane cores and 2 Zephyr cores. The GPU is what they call a Power VR Series 7XT Plus 6-core graphics processor. Memory, internal only, will be 32 gig of storage and 3 gig of RAM, or 128 gig of storage and 3 gig of RAM. Mine's the 128 gig of storage, 3 gig of RAM. And of course, we've already talked a bit about the cameras being 8 megapixel for the rear with HDR, 1080 30 frame per second, 720 120 frame, both supporting HDR as well. 1.2 megapixel front HDR, 720p 30 frames per second. Stereo speakers, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, definitely Wi-Fi 802.11 ABG NAC, dual band 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, hotspot as well, Bluetooth 4.2, also having A2DP and EDR and LE support. Positioning, as they call it, GPS, GLONASS, Wi-Fi, and cellular monitor only, which mine is Wi-Fi and cellular. NFC, or near field communication, is not supported. Radio, no. USB is a Lightning 2.0. We will be talking about that. Sensors, fingerprint, front mounted, accelerometer, gyro, compass, barometer. The home button is actually a physical button on this. It's not a haptic sensor style. And of course, we already talked about the battery and what it is. You can get this in silver, gold, or space gray. I have space gray. And that is our specs there. Okay? So, take it as you will for what they are. I do not use this iPad very much. It's generally only used a couple of times a week for worship practice, Sunday service. Today is Sunday. I started with my battery at 100% this morning at 9 o'clock, and it's now 6:19. It was only turned off for about 2.5 hours during lunch. Otherwise, it's still kicking. It's getting amazing freaking runtime. For a machine that I've had for over 2 years, I've not had a lot of cycles on the battery either. But I also don't do a lot on this thing. You know, I do the on song. I might surf a little bit. I hate surfing with iOS, but even on the phone, but sometimes I do it. iMovie I've tried once or twice on here. Pages I've used a number of times. Mainly for writing songs, done the odd messenger texting thing. I have some programs for electronics, for capacitors, resistors. I don't remember everything, so I need programs. Of course, I do have guitar programs up here, chord programs, a couple of different Bibles, other store apps for stores I like. I have my games folder of games on here, that sort of thing. Got a few more Bibles, got my speed testing program, Dropbox, you know, the usual stuff, right? I've got a few programs on this thing. It runs great, and it runs really, you know, fast for what it is. You know, it is pretty decent speed. Like, even firing up programs is pretty quick. You know, simplify, boom, it's up. It's nice. Now, I have some, you know, downsides to this, obviously. The biggest or probably the only real downside to this is, ever since the operating system's gotten as huge as it is now and demanding, I have found that the boot up time from powered off to powered on to the desktop, that time frame has increased quite a bit with 16.6. So it is starting to slow down the boot cycle for sure. But when it's up and running, it's quite quick. Like, even going into photo booth, boom. I mean, it's very snappy and responsive. Camera app, you know, boom, it's there, you know. Switch to the front camera. Hey, look, there's our iPhone 12 mini that's shooting this video currently. Nice. It's hooked up into my Mac through USB cable for continuity camera. I don't like the Wi-Fi because once in a while, if your Wi-Fi connection stutters, so is your video going to have that stutter in it. So it's kind of like, nope, I'll stay tethered, thanks. Anyways, come on, close off. But anyway, I got a lot of other programs here. Guitar Chord Compass. This thing has got like way too many to count for chords. If you're a guitar player, you know that there are literally tens of thousands of chords. But anyway, we got the App Store, obviously. It works quite fine and well. Everything, there's nothing wrong with the functionality. Once it's up at the desktop, it's fine. You know, so no issues there. It's just I've noticed that the boot loading time is slowed down. Now, that could be simply because since I've had it, I always initially reload my brand new device myself. I don't like using Apple's first time they loaded it thing. I like to do it my own way. And that means I freshly format it and I reload it myself, and then I know I got 100% clean to my standards anyways. So that was done initially on this thing, but it's only ever been restored once since I got it, just because I wanted to do it. And because it's like my Mac. I usually reload my Mac once or twice a year, you know, fresh OS, clean it up, that sort of thing. And so I do the same thing here. But then otherwise I'm stuck on update over update. And every time you overlay an update, some junk does get, you know, left behind. But also when you're just updating an OS all the time, you're not doing a full clean install from zero, it can slow down the computer and it can cause it to use more resources than what it's supposed to be. That's just the nature of updates. It happens on computers, you know, Mac, PC, doesn't matter. So, I mean, I could definitely see this thing improving its boot time once I do a fresh reload. Because once this video is done for the day, I'm going to be backing up my OnSong database, putting that on a safe, secure stick, and then I'm just going to, you know, get this thing prepped for sale because I am selling it because I'm going to be buying myself, if everything works out to my preference with my cell phone company, I'm looking at getting a M2 iPad Pro 4th Gen 256 gig. And because I do need to upgrade finally for my requirements in life and for some things I want to experiment with, which the only way to do that is going to be with either an M1 or an M2 processored iPad. So I'm going to go M2 because, hey, it's most current, right? But anyhow, I give it an easy 4.5 out of 5. And, you know, anything from, I would say, the 9th gen down are just entry-level iPads. They work fantastic. They can do quite a lot. Even gaming on them can be quite nice and adequate and working very well. But if you do require a lot more than an entry-level iPad, then obviously you go iPad Pro. You know, that would be where you would be sitting at, which means a heck of a lot more money. But if it's what you require, then you spend it, and that's what you get. But I've had absolutely no problems with this thing, not even one. Other than, like I said, the slower booting time from 16.6. But I think it's just because of all the overlays of updates over the last 2 years, you know, since the last time it was reloaded, which I can't even remember when it was. So it's definitely been more than a year now since the last reload. And I think it's a little overdue. And that should get her peppy again, because at least then it'll have a full-out raw copy of 16.6. And we're about to get another update too, so hold on to your socks, kids, because as soon as they release Sonoma to the public on the Mac, well, that same day or within a day or two, we are going to see, oh, look, you need to update your iPhone, you need to update your iPad, you need to update your Apple Watch. And it's like, oh, really? Seriously? Yes, of course. That's the way it works. They got to keep everything going. So, anyway. I don't care. I'm putting 16.6 on it, shutting her down, and putting her for sale. I don't care at that point. But, yeah, it is a fantastic machine. I've really enjoyed it. But it is time for me to upgrade. But I do definitely believe in that 4.5 out of 5. For sure. Definitely in on that one. And like I said, it's been reliable and great for me. I mean, I didn't even get an extended warranty for it because, well, in my experience, for myself at least, I've never had an issue with an Apple device myself. So, you know, I still buy the warranties just in case, but, you know, because off warranty repair could be costly if it does happen. So I do like to keep my warranties up. You know, I kind of like that idea. They do pay for themselves over time if something does crop. But if something doesn't, well, better have it not need it than need it not have it. Unfortunately, you can't transfer that to your new computer and say, hey, what about that 10 years I've been paying the warranty renewal on? Yeah, well, you kind of forfeited that because that was for just that device. So, yeah, you got a new device, you can't transfer the warranty to the new device because it's not the same device. So there you go. Anyhow, I think that's about all I got for you guys on this one. But yeah, it's still very useful in 2023 as well. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. But just make sure you know what you're into before buying any iPad to make sure that it can do what you want and need it to be able to do. And if it falls short, then that's obviously, you don't choose it. You find what will work, you know, and that's what you buy. But that's it. That's all. I'm kind of out of here. So thanks for watching and checking in. And we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.